high-energy cosmic storm could advance our knowledge about planetary life.
Same old Reed, always stretching, reaching for the stars.
A group of 5 scientists go to space, and their spaceship gets hit by a cosmic storm that they're studying.
I'm the only one to be directly exposed to the cloud with only that as a barrier.
The cloud descends over all of them.
They're hit with a cosmic storm that changes their DNA to possess certain powers.
That's gross.
The reasons for our powers are supposed to be directly related to our personas.
The accident sort of accentuates each of their sort of characteristics that we had before the accident.
And from that point on, the movie is about their discovery of the powers. Reed Richards has the ability to change his body into any form that he can imagine.
He's able to stretch his arms, all his limbs, even his body.
Reed is quite, malleable. He's always trying to spread himself too thin. My character, of course, goes invisible. She's in a man's world. I think she feels overlooked, and she might as well be invisible.
Reed, look at me.
I can't.
What also happens is she gains the power to create force fields.
Later on in the movie, she embraces that power.
I play Johnny Storm. He's kind of a wild card, he's a bit of a daredevil.
Johnny's quite cocky and walks around like he's the man.
I need names and shots. Bartender!
His power is he can burst into flames, ignites his whole body, and he can fly. And he likes the attention, and what's more attention-grabbing than bursting into flames?
You don't want to walk around on fire for the rest of your life, do you?
Is that a trick question?
I played Ben Grimm, a.k.a. The Thing. Let's go for the top. And I really think he's one of the most beloved comic characters of all time.
His body is covered in rocks, and he also has the power of real strength.
He can never go back and forth. He's just always in that transformation.
He's this monster, he's hideous, and he's beyond a reluctant hero. He doesn't want any part of that.
Ben becomes the symbol of don't judge a book by its cover. What a great man he is on the inside.
His character is definitely the most lovable.
Where are your ears?
I play Dr. Doom. He's the original nemesis. He's the original bad guy.
It's so clear that Doom was an inspiration to many, many villains.
Influencing Darth Vader for the Star Wars movies. He also is made of steel. Becomes an extremely strong, powerful. He can electrocute things.
A steel, cold-hearted man.
Once he kind of gets the feel of the whole thing, he actually starts to enjoy it.
We're the only ones who can stop him.
The 4 of them become good superheroes, and I become a bad guy. Let's not fight.
No, let's.
Susan, you're fired.
You will definitely see the Fantastic Four take on Dr. Doom full on. And on. And on. And on and on. And a lot of things get trashed in the meantime.
I think there's no question that now is a good time to make Fantastic Four with what we can do with imagery and stretching and fire.
Technology now is allowing us to create fire effects and layers that we couldn't have done 3 years ago.
We actually took Ioan, Reed, to a green screen session. We shot his face performance, and we added that to our digital actor.
We're taking Jessica's performance and applying that to our 3D model.
Let's shoot it.
The prosthetics on the thing really help bring out that performance.
And you see some real subtle emotion. You see Ben Grimm in his eyes.
The suit provides me with almost everything that I've needed to play Ben Grimm, to play the Thing.
By the technology that is available now within movie making, we're actually able to transfer these stories to the big screen and make them believable.
I think we crave heroes who are real that we can identify with.
Every movie has a hero. We got 4.
Not pun intended, but it's a fantastic world.
At the climax of this film, hopefully that audience will applaud. It's clobbering time.
this is going to be costly and hard to do.
I thought it was too much of a challenge.
You don't want to do a bridge. It's too expensive. It's too complicated.
There were conversations about actually shutting down the bridge.
The time that we would need to shut that bridge down and obstruct traffic would be so enormous.
How bad is this going to be?
Obviously, we can't recreate the whole Brooklyn Bridge.
Should we have built 211 feet instead of 209 feet?
How are we going to make that work?
Exposure to a high-energy cosmic storm could advance our knowledge about planetary life.
To our future.
I don't trust him.
We got what we wanted.
Just worried about what he wants.
It's the story, really, of how the Fantastic Four become who they are. They go into space, they encounter a cloud of strange radiation, and it alters their DNA. That gives them each these individual talents.
The scene that probably is the most interesting and fun and difficult is the Brooklyn Bridge sequence. In the scene, Ben, he's up on top of the Brooklyn Bridge, and he bumps into a guy who's trying to commit suicide. And in trying to save him, it causes an accident, and he stops an 18-wheeler cab.
It escalates into a giant car wreck and a giant explosion.
The fire truck that comes up to save everybody is diverted by the explosion and is kicked off of the bridge, hanging out over the ladder part.
The Brooklyn Bridge was a huge obstacle. The first thing we thought about was shooting on the actual bridge. Is that feasible? Is it possible?
We went to the Brooklyn Bridge and we scouted it, and, head in our hands, there's no way. They're not going to shut the bridge down.
I had that fear, how difficult and how impossible this whole thing is.
Ralph Winter, the producer, came up with the idea to build a section of the Brooklyn Bridge.
The challenge on the Brooklyn Bridge scene is that we have to create a full-on action sequence on a bridge that we can't actually physically go shoot on. We have to shoot on a 200-foot set.
You're on the bridge, and anybody that knows the Brooklyn Bridge, it's completely open, and you have to, every direction you look, except up, you're going to have a view of New York.
We ended up building 200 feet of the Brooklyn Bridge in a parking lot in Vancouver. We surrounded it with blue screen and shot it there.
Went out, shot pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge, actually scraped pieces of paint off the Brooklyn Bridge so we could match it. Took pictures of all the details, all the bolts and everything, and it is exact replica of a 200-foot section of the Brooklyn Bridge.
If you're really going to sell daylight Brooklyn Bridge, you want to be over on the Brooklyn side looking back at Manhattan and see all of that spectacle.
We've got CG water, CG boats, we've got helicopters, we have CG flame, we've got all of the matte paintings, creating the whole look of New York on this bridge.
After you see it's New York, you don't even think about the fact that you're not really there. You're in a parking lot in Vancouver. We wanted to have things stop a 40-foot tractor trailer. We had to really think that out. What are the physics that are involved here? We put a steel pole and then we filled it with cement, but we had to figure out where to position that. So once we figured it out, we actually put 40,000 pounds of cement on the roadway. We strung the truck on a shiv so that we could actually drive from this side, and as we drive here, it's pulling this truck towards us. And we pulled that thing at 35 miles an hour. We'd set 5-6 cameras up, and we actually just barely got the action because the action wasn't hitting in the center, it was hitting over here because it drove that pole, 3 feet.
200 feet sounds like a lot of set, unless you're dealing with the Brooklyn Bridge, and it's not very much Brooklyn Bridge. So we could barely house the whole accident on the bridge itself.
We'd have to keep resetting the crash overnight to a different place, and then reset it for second unit and set it back for first unit.
This thing starts to spin back this way. This Mazda's playing it close. You've got to commit, you've got to hit with speed.
I mean, really, when you think about it, cars really don't travel that fast over the Brooklyn Bridge, so cars flying over each other is probably not going to happen. But the way they devised the scene with exploding propane tanks, you can see that happening.
And this fireball is anticipated to come out about 3 or 4 feet.
The fire truck was particularly difficult. We had to find fire trucks. We had to find a couple of them that would match.
It was impossible to move a fire truck that weighed 10 tons, move it up off of the pavement, have it crash through steel girders.
We took one of them and just gutted it. You know, fire trucks are made out of huge steel pieces because when those ladder things go up, again, the physics and geometry is such that it just gets off balance very quickly, so it's enormously heavy.
We had to make this truck slide 40 or 50 feet through girders and make that convincing. So we had to figure out a way to do a handoff with the physical effects group. We did that by breaking up the sequence into small chunks, where we would hand off a real truck driving up to a computer-generated truck. So we'd drive the truck to a certain point and then just cut and stop it. And once we got that, then we were able to take over with the CG truck. Not only did we have to deal with the CG truck, we had firemen on top of it. So we had to deal with a handoff of firemen, stunt people that were photographed on the real truck, and then combine that with our computer-generated firemen seamlessly across 25 shots in the sequence.
The technology is advanced, and it's almost the perfect time to do a movie like this with the effects that we can achieve.
I'm very proud of it. I feel good about it. It's exciting.
Out of an 8.5 minute sequence, 8 minutes of it was almost full CG, so it's pretty impressive.
I'm very happy with it, a sense of just knowing how difficult and how impossible this whole thing was, that we pulled it off. Myself, I just look at the shot and go, wow, that's pretty freaking cool.